Hey guys, what's going on, everybody? This is Dane from NYYU. We'd like to welcome you to the Yankees Farm Report with special guest Zach Messenger. Zach, how you doing?
I'm doing great, guys. Thank you so
Good.
much for having me on today.
Well, we kind of owed you from last time when I screwed up the file and it got corrupted, but
Oh, I felt so bad. I felt so bad.
so did I,
I
man.
was like, I don't even know how I'm gonna say this to him.
No, no worries at all. You guys were great the first time. That was second time's gonna make it even better. So,
All right. So how'd your season end up?
uh, I was happy with where the season ended up. I mean, obviously it was a blessing to be able to finish up in Double A, be
Yeah.
in that clubhouse with those guys, that level of talent, play some different guys, and you've been playing all season. From Hudson going down, we were in Binghamton, we were in New Hampshire playing the Fisher Cats. So had two really good series, two really good weekends down there. Got to have a couple starts. But yeah, as far as the Hudson Valley season goes, I mean, there's obviously ups and downs with it. It was my first full season as a starter, so
Yeah.
I knew those things were coming. I learned a lot about myself as a pitcher, as a baseball player, as a man last season. So it's all in all, there's a lot of really good takeaways I had from last season. A lot of stuff I went into the off season with ready to attack and work on, and it's got me to a point to where I'm excited for this year. So.
Outstanding. So let's hop back and find out. Tell us a little bit how you got to the Yankees, what it was like finding out you were coming to this system. Sorry, I jumped ahead when I
No,
asked you.
no worries, no worries.
All right.
No, I mean, I was a third day guy, day three guy. Honestly, to be completely upfront, the Yankees told me on day three they weren't going to draft me. They told me they were going to pass on me. We were having some talks. I didn't have an agent, so I was talking directly with all these teams,
Uh-huh.
and we just never really came to middle ground, and that was okay. I had accepted going back to UVA. I had an opportunity to be a weekend starter at a powerhouse like premier baseball
Yeah.
program in the country. Go back and finish up my degree. So I was okay with it. So I actually went to work that day. I worked at a golf course that summer, and I was driving around on the phone with my now wife, just talking about how the morning went and everything. Just kind of recapping her with all the talks I had. And all of a sudden, my phone starts blowing up, and it's not a call; it's just text, a whole bunch of congratulations texts and all this stuff from like friends, family, people I hadn't heard or seen from in years were shooting me texts and stuff like that. It's like, what in the world? And I go, hey, I told Kinsey, I got to go. Like, I'm pretty sure I just got drafted. Hung up the phone right away. And I had to go into the draft tracker on MLB.com and see my
Oh my
name,
God.
13th
Yeah.
round, 363rd or 96, whatever it was, pick. And it wasn't until about 20 minutes after that the Yankees called me. It was great initial conversation, very excited. Called my parents obviously right away, and
Hmm.
after that I was on the golf cart doing my regular rounds, and as soon as I got off the phone with my parents, I drove up to the front. I said, "Hey, I just got drafted. Um, Probably going to sign. I don't know if I'm going to be able to come into work tomorrow." Uh, and the guys there were super supportive and everything, but I love telling that story because it was one of those things, and I was okay with it. But to get an opportunity like the Yankees gave me, and it's gotten me to where I am today. But yeah, it was definitely an interesting 30 minutes there.
Yeah,
That's
I can see
hilarious.
that.
But
Yeah.
go before that, did you have any idea of if you would be drafted or where you would be drafted?
So I've been talks with other teams. There's connections with scouts through UVA, guys that I had a lot of games. So there were some talks. I was in talks with my head coach Brian O'Connor about it. But it was never really a process I had thought about. I didn't really go through it in high school. I wasn't highly touted as a draft prospect or anything. Didn't need to be. Going to college was the best thing for me developmentally, as a player and as a man. So I had conversations with scouts, and my head coach and my family, and I was ready to be drafted, but it was also very okay with the opportunity didn't come about. There was a next year, and it was another year to get better. But ended up again being one of the best things that's ever happened to me.
Awesome.
Hmm. Well, in college, you were mostly a relief pitcher, right?
Yes.
Did the Yankees mention anything about a conversion, or did that change happen afterwards?
So I came in as a relief pitcher
Hmm.
whenever I was with Tampa, my first full season. And so I was coming out of the pen. I had about 2 months out of the pen. I don't know how many innings. And an opportunity came about to where we had a starter get called up to Hudson. This is probably late May, no more than 2 months into the season. And it had just so happened that 2 days before that, we had a doubleheader where we were playing the Port St. Lucie. We had 3 minute innings we had to finish up, and then another 9 inning game after that. And so what I didn't know at the time, they started me for that 3 innings. That was my little tryout to see if I could, if like a starting role was something possible. Because it was,
Hmm.
and in college, I had a couple spot starts. I was good for 5, 6, 7, a handful of spot starts, midweek starts during the year. So it's something I was comfortable with. I always felt like I could be put out there whenever you needed me to, and however many innings you needed, pitches you were going to give me, like I was going to go out there and grind it out. So it was something I was very open towards. Obviously, if the Yankees front office and the pitching department come to you and be like, "Hey, we see you more successful and as a better impact for our organization as a starter," I'm going to jump right on it.
Oh
So
yeah.
going through that transition in the middle of the season was interesting. Having to build my pitch count up and all that stuff,
Yeah.
relearn how to be a starter again, and then having a full off season with it and building up to here. I mean, I've seen myself make strides every day, every week, every month, in season, off season, all that stuff with it. So it's something I take a lot of pride in now. It was a blessing that the Yankees gave me an opportunity with, and I'm ready to go and run with it.
Okay. So tell us the difference about how you prepare as a reliever versus as a starter.
Yeah, so I always talk about how as a reliever you got to be ready for every other day, almost every third day, definitely with the Yankees. So it's how what your catch play routine is, understanding that, really listening to your body. Honestly, like there's going to be some days during the week when you need to sneak in a higher intent day on the mound before the game or in catch play or something like that. But you also need to be ready if your name's going to be called that night too. So,
Mhm.
excuse me, finding that dynamic of how to attack the day. And then as a starter, you're getting 5 days in between starts. You get 5 days to game plan, 5 days to really fine tune stuff, learn from your previous start, and build on stuff while also having an eye on the scouting report and guys you got coming up and all that stuff. I find myself as a very cerebral guy. I think as a starter, being able to look at a scouting report, being able to face a lineup multiple times, that's something I can use as a strength for me. It's something that I truly, really enjoy the chess game, the one-on-one match. I tell a lot of people that's how I see it. That it's one-on-one, me versus the hitter, and then
Hmm.
it's on to the next guy. And I think I can use my mind a lot as a starter, whereas a reliever, you're going out, and I was fastball slider, righty or lefty, coming out, just trying to throw as hard as I can, get outs as quickly as possible. And as a starter, I'm not easing back at all, but there's having the ability to attack hitters multiple times through the order, grind it out for 5, 6, 7 innings at a time.
Right.
Um, it's it it's a completely different new challenge, but it's something that as long as I take care of my body, it's something I know I can succeed in. So
And what's the difference in the pitch package between start? You said you were fastball slider as a reliever, and as a starter, you've added.
I've added a changeup for sure. I've always had a curveball as a
Uh-huh.
reliever. It was never really something I showcased, but I've always had a curveball since high school. And so as a starter, it gave me an opportunity to flash that curveball back again, to work on the changeup because I wanted to be a guy that have 4 pitches,
Yeah.
maybe sometime down the road having an eye towards 5 pitches. Just always having stuff in your arsenal, being able to attack guys in all different types of ways. It's only going to benefit me as long as I go out there and execute. So adding back the curveball, kind of my bread and butter growing up, and then adding that changeup, which has really come along, a really good sense. So just again, like having that extra weapons to attack guys.
Gotcha.
I'm gonna ask, taking you back into training camp after the draft. I'm always interested to hear these stories because we read and we hear about different things going on. Was there a specific thing that coaches wanted you to work on coming into training camp? Your first training
Yeah, I
camp?
mean, I came in and was 6'6", 205 pounds soaking wet. So obviously, like adding weight on was going to be a big thing for me. So there was eight weeks of not touching the baseball. It was just solely adding strength, learning about my body, figuring out positions that I need my body to be in, moving down the mound to be successful. There's mechanical work that goes on with it. When we start throwing again, there's pitch design work and stuff like that. But that just becomes an everyday routine. Having those conversations with coaches, seeing TrackMan data, being in the weight room and having open communication with your strength coaches and the trainers. So that was really those first 8 weeks was just me learning about myself and how to go about my day, truly, how to have those sorts of conversations and being able to learn as much about my body and the way it wants to move as I could.
Nice.
And last thing in regards to that, I mean, you had Rachel as a manager. What was that like? Her being the first woman in affiliated baseball to have that
Yeah,
position.
I mean, it was an honor to play for Rachel, obviously, to be a part of a team that can do something as historic as that. It's never something you want to take for granted. Rachel was a great manager. She really knew how to talk with the players. I'd say she's a player's coach. She knows a lot about the game. Really excited for the new opportunity that's been given for her.
Yeah.
I know it was something that she's talked about having her eyes on before. But having the opportunity to play for Rachel in general, it's not just it being the first female manager or anything that comes with it, but being able to play for someone that's been in the game for so long, knows the game so much, and works as hard as Rachel does and did leading into that was an honor. And so I respected her as a manager, as I do with every manager in our organization, and it was a good time.
I don't know why, but I always got that feeling that she was like a player's kind of manager from like all the interactions that I've seen with her, all the pictures that I've seen that she takes with you guys. It seemed like she was kind of like that buddy with you guys.
Yeah, and there's a fine line you got to ride, and I think you
Hmm.
could see her develop that throughout the year of learning how you go from being a hitting coordinator and having a lot of one-on-one time, and then you're in charge of leading a team. So it was cool to see her switching up the dynamics a little bit, changing up different ways of how she's going to approach a clubhouse, approach the team, approach different positions and stuff like that. As a pitcher, we didn't have nearly as much interaction with her as she did with the outfielders and with the hitters and stuff like that. But you could still sit there and talk the game with her. I love to pick either my manager or any of the position coaches' brains about anything baseball, even if it's not pitching. And so she was really good for conversations like that.
Gotcha. So going into last year, you started at Hudson Valley, right?
Yes,
You
correct.
were a part of a pretty special staff there, had some
Mm.
pretty impressive teammates that you kept up with all year. How'd that look for you?
Yeah, I mean, it was we got off on a really hot start there. It was every day we were going to roll guys out, whether it was myself or Thorpe or Hampton or Carela or Yulie. We knew you could put trust in the workhorses we were going to put out there, and we knew
Yeah.
we were going to go out there and attack. Preston Claiborne did a really good job at preparing us throughout the week, handling that staff, handling those starters. But at the end of the day, we were all looking at it as we have a job to do, keep our team in the game, attack guys, keep guys off balance. And we got off to a really hot start, and
Yeah.
it was a fun time as a pitching staff, going out there and having trust in not only the guy who's going to start the day before and the day after you, but also the guys coming out of the pen. I mean, those guys were
Yeah.
just as big with all
Yeah.
the success that we had as being able to go out there and have the confidence that if stuff does start to go awry and we get to the end of our outing or something like that, we can bring in somebody else out of our bullpen and feel just as much confidence in it to go out there and attack guys and get guys out. So it was a fun time. It was a fun pitching staff. It was really cool to be around. So I'm excited to see what some of the other guys that have gone off to other places, what opportunities are gonna have for them. Always going to be cheering for them, and excited to see the growth of me and some of the other guys that have stuck around the organization.
Absolutely.
One thing I did want to ask you about in reference to your ability to attack hitters in 2012, left-handed batters hit about 247 off of you. This season, you were able to pretty much neutralize them to about a 201. Can you speak to the improvement that you did, or how did you attack? Did you attack them differently at all since you were able to shave off almost 50 points?
Yeah, it was. I mean, I think adding a curveball back into the arsenal, obviously having a changeup with the way my slider is, my curveball and changeup are both weapons that I can throw to both sides of the plate, but are very much left-handed hitter attackers as well. So fine tuning those weapons as the season went on helped me out with lefties a lot. But then it was also going back to where early on in my career, especially as a reliever, if you look back at the first couple months, I had better lines against lefties than I did against righties. And so there was a point in time during last year, probably halfway through the year, when I sat down with our analyst and Preston, the pitching coach, and discussed, well, what's changed? What am I doing differently now that I haven't been doing but was doing beforehand a season ago? And so just going back to seeing how I was attacking guys, using the fastball more, certain spots, certain positions I want to put lefties in and stuff like that. So there's a little bit of digging that had to be done. I wouldn't call it soul searching, but it's just every day you're trying to get better and learn. And that was just one of the things that came up, and we ended up having success with it by the end of the year.
But when you're having that kind of success, is it something that you're conscious of? Can you see it, or is it something where you have to go back and look at the numbers and the analytics?
Yeah, it's definitely something where it's the day after. I like to give myself
Okay.
24 hours of game day is all about competing, getting guys out. It's the work that you put in the 4 or 5 days beforehand, and then just letting it play out. And then I give myself 24 hours after a start, a good sleep, try to recover really well and come back with a clear mind and try to learn from the start before. And so I'm sure it was one of those things as the season goes on. There's a lot of innings, a lot of starts and stuff like that. But I'm sure there was a point in time during the year when I could go back and I have all the numbers in front of me and I can have these conversations with analysts and coaches. So it's time to do something about it.
Another thing that we had heard a lot about you since last time we talked is that you really stepped up into a leadership role with the younger pitchers like Brock last year and were looked at as the leader on that team. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, this is the first time I'm hearing about it, but that's that's a really a big honor. I mean, I've never come out and wanted to walk into a locker room and be like, all right, I'm gonna be the guy that leads this team and stuff. But I feel like, who am I to not help grow the guys around me? At the end of the day, whenever the season comes, yes, there's a point of minor league ball is so interesting, especially at the lower levels, because we'd be naive to say we're not going out there to try to get ours. That's the best way I can put it. But
Right.
our personal goals, we have families and people to provide for, and going up each level is how we're going to do that and just get us closer to our goal. But being around Hudson Valley, there was a point in time when I believe it was only me and Joel Valdez, and then everyone else in the staff, especially the starters. Towards the end of that year, were all guys coming from the Tarpons, all guys who were going through their first full season. Obviously, Brock and I were in the same draft class, but Brock was seeing growth in himself last season that he had never experienced before. So I'd be remiss to say if I wasn't trying to go around, and I don't know how much knowledge I actually have to give, but at least give experiences. It's just as much me asking guys questions as they are asking me questions.
Right.
I pick up on that from coaches. I do a lot of stepping back and listening to how guys are talking, thinking the game and stuff like that, and then go up and question them. Well, why do they think about this? This is how I go about it. It's it's from my upbringing. I had parents that were both great leaders for myself and my brothers. It's really the only way we know. It's just how we interact around the game. I love baseball so much that I just want to go out there and grow the game as much as I can, learn the game as much as I can. So again, it's not something I walk into a clubhouse or a dugout, or I pick out a guy and be like, I'm going to take this guy and really like put him under my wing and we're going to go places, sort of thing. But it's how I go about the day. And if thoughts come up in my head, I'm going to go up to a guy and ask him about it, talk to him about it, and just see where it takes us.
That's
I mean,
awesome.
kind of piggybacking off of what you said, at the end of the day, you guys are all trying to grow, trying to get to the next level. But I think also the competitor in you wants to win as well. And I tell people, I'm like, minor league baseball is supposed to be about development, but if you win, it's basically a cherry on top. But still, the competitor in you wants to still win.
Exactly, 100%. And that's, again, there's that fine line that I was talking about, to where it's like the team aspect, especially at lower levels, where you see so much development happening. So how can you bring guys together as a team? And I think that's why we had so much success, especially in the first half last year in Hudson Valley. We had a lot of talent in that locker room, and we did a lot of good things with it, especially in that first half. And then the boys went on in the postseason and made a run at the championship there at the end of the year. But yeah, there's obviously the competitor in you, where, especially as a starter, I can go out there and, again, it's one-on-one, me versus the hitter. Nothing goes on in this game until I release that ball, sort of thing. So you've always got to keep that edge. But I just see it as you're kind of picking ideas off of coaches' brains, off of other guys' brains, and if some stuff sticks, some stuff doesn't. But at the end of the day, it's only going to help.
When you got to the second half, you got called up to Double-A and you went to pitch for Grayson. He had a lot of really big things to say about you. That he actually picked you as his breakout pitcher for this year. What was pitching for him like?
Yeah, I mean, Grayson's a phenomenal coach. Very excited for him for the new opportunity he gets with the Mets. Excited for him and his family. I got the opportunity. Grayson and I went through our first professional full season together. His first year in Tampa was my first pro season.
Oh, okay.
So, and I played under him the entire year. So we had a relationship going into last season already. Obviously, he makes the jump up to Double-A, and we see each other at the end of the year. And I think there's benefits to that. I sat down for my first scouting report, and Grayson already knows how my mind thinks. He's obviously been in talks with Preston, how scouting reports have gone for me, and those meetings with the catcher and myself have gone on all year. But Grayson knows my mind just as well as anybody too. I owe a lot of my success, especially early on in my career already, to Grayson. He's really good at controlling a game, running a staff, helped me out developmentally as well. So it was cool to be able to like jump back and be under the same staff as him too. So, and I mean, it was just as much a product of you walk in there and you see how all the other pitchers in Double-A compose themselves during games, before games, just go about their days. And I think having Grayson as that guy that they're playing with almost, I think that shows out a lot.
Gotcha.
Going once you got the promotion to Somerset, which I'm sure was exciting for you and your family. You did have a really good debut. I think you were 4 1/3 innings, 2 runs, a walk, which I think was a 2-run home run if I'm not mistaken. And you had 7 strikeouts in that game. What was your mindset going into that game? Were there any jitters? Because we know that's the biggest jump that a player can make, is pretty much going from high A to Double-A.
Yeah, I wouldn't call it any extra jitters. I was very excited. Obviously, being able to, I had buddies that were up in Double-A all year. I got to see at the end of the year, and again, like, it was a very exciting opportunity for myself and my wife and my family. But I just wanted to go up there, and honestly, I saw it as, these are guys who haven't seen me all year. I've been playing against Jersey Shore. I've been playing against Brooklyn. I've been playing against Wilmington all year, guys who have seen me 3, 4, 5 times already. I'm going up to New Hampshire, and this is a lineup that's never seen me before. So knowing that what got me up there was my stuff, was the way I go about and attack hitters. And so nothing changes. There was, as soon as you get in the game, you can see that swing decisions are different. You can see guys are more composed at the plate compared to some of the hitters you face in low A or high A. but strikeout pitches are still strikeout pitches. Strikes are still strikes. Balls are still balls. The way you attack the count all still stays the same. So I just wanted to make sure I didn't go out there and wasn't trying to be too perfect. Wasn't trying to be timid against guys that, yeah, they're up there because they're better hitters, but I'm up there because of where I've gotten myself to as a pitcher. So keeping my confidence level high. Again, being in that clubhouse made it a lot easier. Just the way guys compose themselves, how professional it was around there, and it was an exciting opportunity that I just wanted to hold on to and run with. So.
On that
What
note,
are,
was there,
go
let
ahead.
me guess, because I need to ask this. I always like to ask this question. Was there a hitter that gave you a tough time?
Gosh, who was it? There was a guy, he was in Bimington, first baseman. Might have been Schwartz. JJ Schwartz, maybe. That him and I had some battles. I think he was the first guy I faced. I came out and piggybacked that game. He was the first guy I faced coming out of the pen, and he was the last guy I faced at the end of that outing for me. Him and I had some battles. He won some, I won some, pitch by pitch, long at bats, stuff like that. Just again, a very professional hitter, a very sound hitter, and those are the battles that you love. Those are the mind games. Those chess matches that I talk about that I love. I love the opportunity to have. And I know I'm going to win some and I'm going to lose some, but I'm going to give you my best stuff. So I don't know what his stats were off me or anything like that, but just comes to mind. Just
These were
thinking about some of the battles. Yeah.
Did you ever get to a point where like, oh my God, this guy keeps fouling off pitches. I'm just gonna hit him. I'm just gonna put one in between the numbers.
No, I never got to that point. Hopefully, I've been at that point a time or two in my career. It's just like, man, come on, I'm giving you.
Come on, man, you're racking up my pitch count.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But no, I don't think I ever got to that point with him. It was just really being out there and enjoying the moment and enjoying that battle.
So now you're getting your second taste of AA going into this season. What are the things that you are working on or preparing for this year that were different than last year?
Yeah, I'm excited to fight for an opportunity to hopefully start up in AA this year. I've been around Tampa all off season. Been around all of our pitching department. Had a lot of really good eyes on me. A lot of really good conversations. We're doing some stuff mechanically, a little bit of pitch shape stuff too, but some minor fine tuning things of little positions in the delivery that we're at the point now where I'm at in my career and development wise to where we can get very specific, but it's those specific movements that tend to take the longest to tell your brain that, okay, this is correct. This is where I need to be moving down the mound and stuff like that. So without getting super technical or anatomical about it, it's just a lot of really good conversations, day in and day out. We've put in a lot of really good work, and still got 5 weeks, a month and a half until spring training rolls around, and we really start facing other teams and better hitters and stuff like that, and really start attacking guys and competing. So I'm excited with where I'm at right now, and I'm very much looking forward to see what progress we can make here in 4, 5, 6 weeks.
Cool. Los?
Is there any pitcher that you try to emulate or that you grew up watching or that you like to go back and look at his stuff to see if there's anything you can pick up from?
I mean, there's a lot of guys. Again, there's just different parts of the game that I always try to pull from. I try to have a big portfolio, I guess you could say, cast a wide net of information. And I really just try to pull as much as I can and see what sticks. Grew up watching that Tigers rotation of Verlander and Price and Scherzer and those guys go out and attack. Sorry.
That's okay.
I grew up a big Roy Halladay fan. I love watching Roy Halladay, especially when he was with the Phillies. He was throwing postseason no-hitters and perfect games and stuff like that. So I grew up loving Roy. I used to be over the top in my delivery, and I did that only because Roy Halladay did it, and I thought it looked cool. I grew up a Cardinals fan. I grew up about 2.5 hours from St. Louis. So got to watch a lot of Adam Wainwright and Yadier Molina. Seeing that dynamic between a pitcher and a catcher growing up was really cool. Watching Adam Wainwright take games into the ninth inning, just really being a workhorse for that club. So I think I've gotten to the point now in my career to where I want to fine tune myself and see who the best Zach Messenger can be physically, mentally, as a pitcher, that sort of thing. But yeah, I mean, it's hard not to sit down and watch baseball, especially growing up in my age and watching guys like Verlander dominate. I remember Matt Harvey and Noah Syndergaard and Jacob deGrom when they were playing the Royals in the World Series.
Oh,
like
wow.
those powerful rotations and stuff. Like it's stuff where you can sit down and watch 3-4 games in a row of a postseason series and just watch guys dominate. So that's what I remember trying to like thinking about emulating guys and just going out and attacking guys growing up the same way I watch guys do it on TV every night.
Halladay, now that you said that, that's a really interesting comp for you. He was a very smart pitcher like you are. He used his brain to get outs more than so much stuff. Do you try to emulate that a little bit? Where like you're talking about being a chess match.
Yeah. I mean, it's you hear Halladay talk in interviews, you hear guys talk about him now, and just how he went about his day. Like you hear guys talk about how he was one of the more routine oriented guys that you'll ever meet. And it's not a superstitious thing, but he knows it's what he needs to do day in and day out to get himself ready for every fifth day. How he goes about his pens, how he goes about his lifting, his nutrition, his sleep. So I've listened to a lot of Roy Halladay interviews and how he talks about that. Watched him or listened to interviews early on in his career when he was in Toronto, throwing 95, 96, 97, watching him pitch for the Phillies in the postseason, throwing 92, 93 sinkers and changeups and cutters and stuff like that, and just going out there with all these different weapons and just attacking the zone and just wearing hitters out in the zone with really good stuff. So it's hard not to pull from that, watching him be in compete mode and just flooding the zone I mean, he had some of the best movement that the league had ever seen, especially at that time, towards the end of his career. And he rode with it. That's who he was as a pitcher. So I see that in myself of, I know what I have. I know what I can put out there to get hitters out. And this is what we're going to roll with. And I'm going to give you my best shot with it.
Awesome. Los?
I'm gonna give you a two-parter. So, who's the best player that you've ever played with, and who's the best pitcher that you ever got to see from the dugout?
Ben Rice wasn't around in Hudson Valley for very long last year, but watching what that guy did, his poise at the plate, he had multiple games in Hudson Valley with 4 or 5 walks or something like that. I think he had like 17 walks on a week at one point. Just his ability to go up there and control the zone. And then when he did get his opportunity and got a pitch he liked, he did damage with it. Yeah. That makes for such a tough guy to pitch too, because you feel like this guy is not going to miss if I put it over the plate, but I'm not going to get him to chase anything either. So the way he went about the game, being able to see him at the end of AA or at the end of the AA season last year. And he's not, the guy knows the game really well, talks the game really well. Rice is bilingual. Like he has the opportunity to go out there and learn and help the Latin pitchers grow just as much. So he knows how to control his staff, and he really wants to be the guy that he's going to ask you questions before every outing, every bullpen session that he catches, trying to learn from you, see where your head's at. Because at the end of the day, it's just you and him going out there and facing hitters. Obviously, Spencer Jones just is a really special talent. See a kid that big, that strong, that fast, and the things he does damage for baseballs. Love having him out there in center field. Guys saved me a lot of runs, a lot of doubles in the gap with his ability. So I'm really excited to see what another year under his belt brings for him. As far as pitchers, I mean, I watched Drew Thorpe grow into the guy that he was before Double A. I think he had one bad start that entire year, and every other start he was going out there and 7, 8, 9 strikeouts, no walks, taking us to the 7th, 8th, watch him go into the 9th inning a couple times. And it was just like it got to the point where like, all right, it's a Drew Thorpe day sort of thing. Like you know where you're going to get with it.
Yeah.
And as a staff and as a guy who can sit back there in the dugout, you know what you're going to get. And it's all fun and games to sit there and act like, oh, Thorpe just punched out 10 guys again, sort of thing. But to watch a guys dominate like that with the stuff that he had, again, filling up the zone with his best stuff. And it just seemed like the guy couldn't miss. And it was one of those things where, all right, it's his first full year. He's got a hot start. Like guy had a good May. Let's see how he gets when June and July come around. And then he was pitcher of the month in June, and then he gets called up towards the end of July, and he's pitcher of the year by September. And it's just to see a guy dominate the way that he has. Stinks he's not in our organization anymore because I loved getting the ability to watch him pitch. I know he's going to go out there in San Diego and do really good things and get a lot of really good opportunities for that club. But yeah, it's tough not to sit back and think about Thorpe's year. I saw Chase Hampton really early on. Some of the most electric stuff I've ever seen. I played with a guy, Griff McGarry. He's in the Phillies organization right now, and very similar stuff. Very similar way they both attack guys, really like high vertical, high velocity fastballs, really big, sharp breaking balls and stuff like that. And so I watched Chase, and it reminded me so much of Griff, who I played with at UVA for 3 years, and who's having a lot of success now. And again, it took him a couple starts to really get into his own, but once he got back to the Chase Hampton that got him there in the first place, it was just dominant.
And you guys are probably going to start in the same rotation this year, so you should get to see a lot more of him and he of you, right?
Yeah, that would be a really good opportunity. Be a blessing if we could start on the same club. I hope Chase gets the opportunity to stay healthy through the rest of the offseason and spring training, and he'll end up, and I'll do the same. Again, he's a guy that I can sit back and learn from, just as much as him and I can have one-on-one conversations and learn from each other. So yeah, it'd be great if him and I could be on the same staff again, like that staff that we had in Hudson Valley.
Awesome. Los?
I think that was it for me. But before we close out here, I definitely wanted to congratulate you. I know you recently got married.
Yes, congratulations.
Thank you, guys. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And definitely want to wish you much success and much health going forward.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Carlos. I appreciate that.
Have a wonderful season. We cannot wait to see what you do, and we'll have you back again soon, hopefully.
Please do, guys. Yeah, I always have a good time with you guys, even if it takes a second time around the block to hopefully get it.
We got to get the okay from your dog first, though. Give him the heads up.
Yeah, exactly.
Give your dog the heads up.
Yeah, now he wants to sit here and calm down, but when I'm trying to get on the interview, he's giving me a hard time. But no, I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for everything you guys do. Trying to talk about us down here in the minor leagues. So
trying to get you guys some recognition you deserve.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
We all appreciate it. We very much do.
Thank you for taking the time, though. All right.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
All right, guys. Later, guys.
Later.
Yeah.